Thank you all for being here today. My name is Rick Smith, and I have the honor of welcoming you as we gather to celebrate the life of someone we all cared about so much, Brandon Franks. Today is not just about mourning a loss, but about remembering a life, one filled with stories, laughter, love, special moments, high energy, and Brandon's impact on all of us. Each of us here carries a piece of Brandon's story, and together those pieces form a beautiful picture of who he was and what he meant to this world. While it's natural to feel sadness, today is a day to reflect on the joy Brandon brought into our lives, the way he made us feel, and the memories that will stay with us forever. Throughout this gathering, we will hear from people who knew and loved Brandon, sharing stories and reflections that honor his life. I encourage you to listen, to remember, and hopefully fill this room with more laughter and smiles than tears. We want to thank the originator of a GoFundMe page for Brandon's family, which just started last Saturday and has over 190 donations and over $33,000 in the fund. You can rest assured that Ryder will spend this money wisely. Information on the GoFundMe page, if you're interested, will be at this table right here, and you can stop by and pick it up after this presentation today. Let's get started. Today, we have many of Brian's friends and family that will make a presentation. Those include the following: Steve Masita, he is a roommate and friend who will lead us in a short prayer. Chris Franks, Brandon's brother. Russ Milson, a St. Mary's buddy and Brandon's wine mentor. Maggie Franks, his niece. Jeff Hermosillo, Lauren's dad, and Ron says his bro pal. Chris Torres, a roommate, a soulmate, and a brother from another mother. Brian Franks, which Ron calls his real brother. And then we will have, after their presentations or discussions, we'll have an open mic. So if anyone has a brief memory or anything that you want to comment on, you can do it on the open mic session. And finally, we'll end up with Cynthia and Ron, who have a few things to say. So let's get started. Steve, you're up.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Masita. Cynthia and Ron asked me to speak and lead us in prayer, and I'm truly honored to do so as a friend of Brandon's. About 10 years ago, I married a girl. Her name was Nicole. But before Nicole, there was Brandon. We lived together for about 7 years, and technically, under California law, we probably could have been domestic partners. Looking back as a small business owner, that might have helped my taxes. And honestly, I think Brandon would have been up for it, because that's who Brandon was. I want to take you back for a minute to a story I call David versus Goliath. In 2008, I transferred to St. Mary's College in Moraga. And if you don't know anything about Moraga, it's basically in the middle of nowhere. There's no freeway. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes just to get anywhere. And if you had AT&T, you were lucky to get 2 bars on campus. At this point, I was still new to school, coming in as a junior. So one night, my roommates and I were in the gym shooting around at 9 o'clock, and a few guys walked in. I visually compared who I thought each team's best player was. On our side, we had my roommate, about 6'5", 330 pounds, Hawaiian, basically your prototypical NFL offensive tackle. On the other side, their most athletic looking player, about 5'6", $155 maybe, big smile, ton of energy. He introduced himself as Brandon. So we asked him to play 3-on-3, and they said yes. And without saying a word, the game plan was obvious. Get Brandon switch onto our big, throw him the ball, easy bucket. Well, we quickly got a couple buckets, but I could see the look on Brandon's face. He really wanted to help his team win. So this literally turned into a David versus Goliath situation. Brandon started flying around, jumping passes, stealing the ball, doing whatever he could to try to stop this giant man. He used everything he had: speed, effort, timing, and fouls. If he couldn't stop you, he would give you a nice big slap. The problem was you couldn't get mad because he was laughing and having such a good time. But what I've learned is that in sports, many times it reveals our character. The person we're on the court is the same person we're off the court. And so I want to highlight his character and attributes on the court to give us a glimpse of who he was off the court. And so when he played, he didn't take plays off. He did things people didn't want to do, like playing good defense and trying to rebound the ball. He was always selfless, looking to see if you were open. If your team needed a basket, he wasn't afraid to make a play. And sometimes that meant throwing his body into people much bigger and getting hit in the face. He did whatever it took to help his team win. If you pause to think about this, he did all those things for us, his friends and family. Not long after, I saw Brandon in my dorm, and honestly, I didn't know what he was doing there. He had been talking with my current roommate, John Diaz, who he went to Sarah High School with. And at the time, I didn't know who I was going to live with since all my roommates were graduating seniors. Brandon one day popped into my head. I honestly didn't know him that well, but I remember thinking, he can't be that bad. He always seemed happy and talked a lot. And from that point on, we were roommates for a long, long time. And that connection did not just stay on the court. We did life together. But basketball stayed a big part of our lives, and we would commute to Danville on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday for over a decade. Our small basketball group grew to around 70 guys, many of which are here today. Brandon was one of the originals. And I can confidently say, on behalf of them all, Brandon was someone everyone wanted on their team. If I had to sum up Brandon, I would use the acronym JOYS, J-O-Y-S. J is for joy. Joy and happiness are different. Happiness is just based on your circumstances, but joy shows up no matter the situation. He had the kind of joy that was contagious, to brighten the room. O is for others. Brandon had a special way of putting people first. I can't tell you how many times I would walk by and hear him on the phone, checking in on someone, encouraging someone, just being there. Somehow, he kept close connection with hundreds of people. I still don't understand how he did that. My phone has 875 unread text messages. Brandon was a 411 and 911 at the same time for people. Y is for your strength. You saw it on the basketball court, going up against guys twice his size, but more than that, you saw it in his life. And as a father, rider, and loving partner to Lauren, in a way that he faced some really difficult challenges, he carried himself and others with strength. And S is for sense of humor. There were really only 2 times I ever saw Brandon truly sad. Those were when his dog Bogey or Biscuit passed. And honestly, not sure which one it was. Sorry, Cynthia. They look the same to me. And then, when the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to Tim Tebow and the Denver Broncos, wow. Shortly after, Brandon converted to a Niners fan, and then realized it was not much better. So, to cope with the heartache and grief, he started a group text with my friend Jeremy Lee and I, and he called it Bay Area Sports Therapy. That was Brandon Joyce. That's what he brought into every room and into every relationship. And if I can be vulnerable with you all, There was a season I went through, and I was at a really low point in my life, and Brandon really showed up for me. He walked with me in that season. He made me laugh when I didn't feel like laughing, and sometimes he even covered part of my utilities when I didn't have the money. And I know I'm not the only one who has a story like that. I want to share something that happened the day Brandon passed. I was downstairs and I went to the garage because Nicole had asked me to get something in a cabinet. I opened the cabinet and a basketball fell from about 10 feet high gently into my hand. Perfectly, actually. That ball had been wedged between the ceiling and the cabinet and had never fallen down. We've opened that cabinet hundreds of times, and Nicole had even opened it multiple times that day. That basketball was one Brandon and I got together at a Gary Payton event he had invited me to right after Ryder was born. And in that moment, I just smiled because I felt Brandon. Just another one of his passes that I have caught many times before. So I want to take a moment to pray. Please bow your heads as we pray for Lauren, Ryder, Cynthia, Ron, and everyone who loved Brandon. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift Brandon was to all of us, for his joy, his friendship, and his impact. Lord, would you bring peace where there's pain, comfort where there's grief. And if there's anyone under the sound of my voice that doesn't know you, I pray that you come near to them. Show them your loving kindness. Lord, we lift up Lauren and Ryder as we mourn this incredible loss. We pray that you provide for every need they may have. Be near to their family, Cynthia and Ron. Would you give them peace that surpasses understanding and help us carry forward the love and joy Brandon showed us. In Jesus' name, amen.
There's no place in the world I'd rather not be right now. There's also no place in the world I'd rather be right now. This is the hardest thing we've ever gone through. So May 4th, 1988, Brian and I are at home for some reason. It was not a weekend. We were definitely supposed to be at school, but we may have been playing Nintendo or something. We had a phone call, and the phone rings, and for those kids in the room, you had to go into the kitchen and pick the phone up off the wall, and you had to hold it to your ear, and you couldn't walk away. And not only that, you didn't know who was on the other line. You didn't know anybody. It was my dad, and I will forever cherish the fact that I am the one that answered that call, because Brian had gotten to be a big brother for 14 years. My dad, I answered the phone and say, "Hey, Dad," and he's the first person to say, "Hey, you're a big brother." It's the first time I ever got to hear that. I was a big brother. 38 years of being a big brother, and it was the greatest thing. A lot of people are going to come up here and talk to you about how much they love Brandon, and the reason you love somebody is because of the memories you have made with that person, and I understand that. I want to talk to you guys about the memories that we have made in the past week because of Brandon. You do not know how many times my dad, Cynthia, Brian, and Lauren have sat around our table and just been absolutely flabbergasted by the amount of love that has been shown because of the man Brandon was. He made that. He did that. The amount of love and memories we've shared, just being so wow, this person, and people, and I don't want to put down the people that were, obviously the people that are so close to him and knew him, but people we didn't, from so far around the world, because of how great of a person he was, they wanted to reach out, they wanted to let us know, and it's because that's how great of a person he was, and we're going to have those memories now for the rest of our lives. Do you want to read one part of this? Sorry. The Beatles said, "And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make." I believe that to be unbelievably true. And if that is true, you can see the amount of love Brandon made in this room right now. And that's the amount of love he gets to take with him. And that's just the man he was. And that's what I get to take away from this. That's what we all get to take away from this, is that we got to be together and we got to know each other. We got to have love because of him. And I don't really have an ending there.
It's great to see everybody. I'm just here to tell my story. And when I think of the story of Brandon Franks, it's viewed through my experiences, but shared with many of the people in this room who I am so happy to see. I think of anecdotes told out of sequence, like the movies we used to watch together. Kind of like a Tarantino or Nolan movie, where the events happen out of order. For example, my first real Brandon story would be, chapter 2 of our friendship. We already knew each other. I'm pretty sure, we'd been seeing each other at college parties. I think we had some classes together, maybe teamed up at beer pong. Point is we knew each other and we were friendly. But not quite friends and totally oblivious to the close friendship that would come. The story was only beginning to be written. So St. Mary's had this music festival. And I can't remember why, but for whatever reason, nobody wanted to go that year. So instead, a counter party was thrown, down at the townhouses where Brandon was living. And I had been hanging out with some friends, and I can't remember why, I just remember hanging out with Brandon, all day. And I ended up crashing on the couch of his old townhouse. And, it wasn't until years later that I found out he shared that townhouse with many of the folks in this room. Chris, I actually remember meeting you. Brandon was always enthusiastic about fun, not to mention a fantastic host. So when he received his diagnosis, I was actually amazed at how little actually changed. He didn't need to be a better person. He didn't need to become an integral part of our lives. He didn't need to work on living life to his fullest. He already was. What was scheduling a trip to New Orleans with someone that I had spent years coming out to hang out in Walnut Creek to see, hanging out at, Steve's old apartment. Speaking of that apartment, there's pictures somewhere of us practicing cheer routines at I think 3 or 4 a.m. Much to the chagrin of his downstairs neighbors. These weekly, if not more often, excursions persisted for years. It was around this time I got to know, Steve, Ryan, Travis, Doug, so many people in this room. A group chat was formed, and then another one, and another one. And eventually, every holiday, every movie release, music festival, rafting trip, or just a bottle of wine being opened became a new opportunity for a special occasion. A lost phone in a river, scab on a forehead from a shallow dive in a pool. A new date to be excited about, a baby shower to celebrate, Lauren and Brandon bringing much needed beauty and happiness into the world. So many memories would never have happened without Brandon being both the glue and the coordinative persistence that willed them into being. Ugly sweater parties come to mind, as does what we came to call family dinners at the Covio house, the trips to Santa Cruz for the Chowder Festival, the lazy afternoons at the Redwood City House, the wild pool parties at the Arizona House.
We saw the pics.
Brandon warned us after that there were videos. The Arizona House for me is its own chapter. Not because there was anything particularly out of the ordinary of having a great time with Brandon by the time I first visited, but because this is when I first met so many people in exactly the same situation I was in, seemingly caught in the orbit of this absolute gentleman who was, welcoming personality, had all the gravity and light of a star. My story wasn't unique. I was just another one of so many lucky people who got to call Brandon his friend, his family. While I was getting to know these awesome folks, I met his brother Brian, got to better know his parents, Ron and Cynthia. I know I've only met a small fraction of the people who love Brandon and a small fraction of the people in this room. However, I've now met enough to see how much each of you had left an impact on him, molded him. Brandon was literally the best of all of us. The most recent chapter was beautiful, not for the crazy story that followed, but because of how perfectly ordinary it had become. Ryan's birthday. Let's meet up during the day at a brewery. Brought my 1-year-old son, Tristan, who I hear screaming in the corner somewhere. I spent as much time, waving at trains and buses as I did actually talking with our friends. Tristan kept running up to Uncle Brandon, who would hold him. I took a picture of how grown up he looked. My son, not Brandon. He was sitting at the table next to Brandon, and they were all of our friends were just engaged in conversation. I texted the picture to my wife that day. Miniature golf followed. The sun waned. I didn't realize it would be my last day with Brandon. Last chapter of this story hasn't been written. Brandon's impact on all of us will continue as long as we all remember him. When I think of the impact he's had on the people in this room, on me, expect that to be a long time measured, not in years, but generations. I can say with certainty I'll remember him with every holiday, every movie release, music festival, rafting trip, or a bottle of wine. Thank you.
I'm Maggie. I'm Brandon's oldest niece. There's no better example of to know him was to love him than my Uncle Brandon. He truly made every single person he interacted with feel truly seen, loved, and understood. The last time we were together, I had a flare-up from a chronic health issue and was crying from pain. Even though my pain could never compare to the pain he endured, Uncle Brandon immediately jumped into action, asking what I needed and how he could help me. While the illness I deal with are nothing compared to what he went through, he made me feel truly seen and understood for one of the first times. He seemed to know all the right questions to ask and all the right things to say to make me feel better. After that visit, we had long and meaningful text conversations about chronic illness, different ways to deal with it, and how important it is to lean on your friends and family. Something he texted me really stuck out. I think it's something we can all take to heart. He said, "Well, stick it out. One day it will get better. Just gotta get there." The past week, I've been rereading that text along with other ones he sent me over and over again. We bonded over pain and tattoos, which I just got my first one and he was so proud of me. He helped me get through more than he will ever know. None of what happened to my Uncle Brandon is fair, but that's not what he focused on. He kept a smile on his face, and he made sure everyone else around him had one too. That's what we should all strive to do. I think that's what Brandon would want from all of us, to make sure everyone we interact with feels loved, comfortable, and understood. Thank you.
So I had the honor of speaking a couple of nights ago at Brandon's memorial. So for those of you who were there, I've got version 2, some of the same remarks, but nothing's changed since then. Mariel has helped add some color that I hope is interesting. The other thing I was going to say is just to tell you how much I really liked Brandon. A Stanford guy wearing Cal colors. only for Brandon, because he liked the Warriors, and according to my daughter, this is his color. So, there we go. Okay. A few nights ago, I reflected on Brandon and what I will remember most. His smile and his genuine hello, always asking me how I was. Or the way he'd come into the house and say, "It smells delicious. What's for dinner, Mariella?" Brandon had a way about him, an attitude that was always upbeat, grounded in real courage. He fought cancer. To the very end. And he never gave an inch. And I even thought that I knew he did his best to shield it from Lauren and Ryder from the pain he was going through. I often wondered if I could be that strong in the face of what he was battling. I've always admired his courage and his resolve. One day, I'll tell Ryder just how strong her dad was and how much he inspired me. And there were so many little things about Brandon that made you smile. He loved the gifts we gave him, especially anything from Peoria. Mariella knew exactly what he liked. A few weeks ago, she got him a pair of jeans. Of course, they were too long. The next day, he took them to a tailor, had them altered, and the day after was proudly wearing them. He even FaceTimed us to show them off. And Amanda's puppy, Moo, the minute he walked in the door, she would make a mad dash for him. And he had this quiet way of bringing people together. I think someone else said this. In my little corner of the world, it's when Amanda and Lauren would start arguing. And Brandon somehow stepped in and calmly diffused things. We also shared a lot of laughter. Around the dinner table, out in the backyard, barbecuing, we never missed a chance to laugh. I'd remind him of his height challenges, and he'd remind me of my hair challenges. Or how long it's been since the Dallas Cowboys actually won a Super Bowl.
1995.
Those are the moments I'll always carry with me. Over time, Brandon became a part of my family. I went from a house full of girls to finally having another guy around, someone to shoot hoops with and talk football. And when one of us got into a little trouble with the girls, we'd exchange that same look, like help. In many ways, Brandon was like a son I never had. I will always be grateful for the friendship he gave me, for the love and support he showed my family. For Lauren, I know how much he loved you, and that meant everything to me. And Ryder, she was his joy. He was so proud to be her dad. Since his passing, there have been many moments of deep sadness, so many questions, so many whys. But I've come to realize that Brandon didn't just leave us with loss. He left us with something lasting. He left us with memories that make us smile, lessons in courage, and a reminder of how to live with heart, humor, and with love. And for that, I'm deeply thankful that Brandon came into our lives. As we move forward, my hope is for Ryder, that she grows up knowing who her dad was through the way we live, and the love that surrounds her. That she carries his strength, his kindness, and his spirit with her. And that she always knows how much her dad loved her and how proud he was of her. How proud he was to be hers. And for my daughter, for my daughter Lauren, my hope is that she holds on to all the good things their relationship gave her, the love, the laughter, the partnership. And that she draws strength from those memories as she moves forward in life, just as Brandon would have wanted. And in closing, this is to Brandon from Jeff and Mariella. To know you is to love you, and it wasn't long at all before you became our son. You added to our family such a warm and charming touch. To know you is to love you, and we love you very much. Thank you.
As a note, I'm going to be speaking in past tense and present tense because I will be speaking to him too through these stories. My first meeting with B was through my answering machine the summer prior to our freshman year of college. I don't know how the heck he was able to get my phone number, but if you know B like I do, you know he would do his research in every possible way to get it. He would search all of my socials, all of my likes and dislikes, basically knowing more about me than I did myself. But I also know that it was probably in the mail and I didn't bother checking. My first live action encounter was even more so. Here's this 5'5.5", and he was always adamant to make sure that the hat was added. Kid walking through the door, shoulders back, with that great big contagious smile and laugh of his. Right away, we were able to quickly arrange the room, pick our sides with no contest, and begin to secretly contrive all the ways to upgrade the room once the parental units were gone. Yes. Within 30 minutes of them leaving, we were in the car on the way to Best Buy to purchase a TV we were not supposed to have and a few other items that I shall not mention. To some, this may be such a quaint memory, but it was the start of a lifetime of adventures, and I dare say mischief, that he, myself, and many others shared together with him. And from that adventure, I knew we had the makings of a very special bond. B has an exceptional gift, a gift he gave and shared with all of us. He is a bright conduit of connections. He has the unique capability of making friends with quite literally anyone and everyone. I always joked about how the little man of his Napoleonic stature had so much breath to continuously talk all the time. The man would not stop talking. But it is because of this gift that each and every one of us is connected in one way or another because of B. Whether we made the best friends with people we never thought of meeting because of different groups, or we found love, and from that love, we found our families. He always joked that he was like Good Luck Chuck. That was his primary thing. Any roommate that literally lived with him would later on find their spouse and get married. That was it. Looking around the room, seeing everyone here, and seeing people I know, some I don't, he's at it again, bringing people together to create new friendships and connect with old ones. He was that person to us all. He was a planner of extreme magnitude, always making sure that we all had a great time, and typically planning a year in advance to make sure we were all there and included. Speaking of his planning skills, his memory was that of an elephant, ironic for the size he was. And those pranks of his that he so cunningly schemes were not days or weeks, but years in the making. And they were, to lack of a better word, epic. Trent, he knows very well. He was always fun-loving and quirky in his own ways, with his crazy shirts and sweaters, to his dinosaur riding and T-Rex costumes, and of course his crazy obsession with dino nuggies. Never understood that. He knew how to put a genuine smile on your face without even having to ask him to do so. There are so many amazing qualities to share about him, albeit Maybe from, maybe that of him being quite the squirrel, as Travis so eloquently proclaimed. We were standing in the garage the other day and called him a squirrel. As Travis so eloquently claimed, keeping everything from clothes from 20 years ago to power cables galore. And you would know exactly what I am speaking about if you were ever in his conquered house and opened up that Harry Potter closet underneath the staircase. But unlike a magic portal of organization, there was a tower of chaos that would most certainly come crashing down on top if you did not quickly close that door to save yourself. Brian knows. Despite the closets, I don't have to share his genuine qualities with all of you because we all already know. Otherwise, we would not be in this room here together today for him. That was me. That was our Brandon. And that is what today is about. We're here to laugh and smile and share stories, those precious little to those most outrageous moments we created with him. That's what he would have wanted from all of this. The love, laughter, and the memories that he was able to make with each and every one of us. Excuse me. I am so appreciative of him taking those random cruises, listening to music to nowhere. All those hard thought outs, trinkets, and gifts. That means so much more than they already do. I actually got one on right now. Just here. Those late night video game sessions deep into the night with the boys, sharing about our lives. At times being my rock as he was to so many others. Asking me to be his best man, and most of all, entrust me to be the godfather to his precious baby daughter. With Lauren's approval, of course. So let's make today what today is truly supposed to be about. Celebration of my friends, my brother, Brandon, and Bite Size B. Mr. and Mrs. Franks, you raised an incredible man. Thank you for always opening your home to all of us as a family, so that we were able to create those amazing memories that we all have to share and keep him alive in our hearts forever. Mr. and Mrs. Hermosillo, Brandon always spoke about you with such love, respect, and admiration. Him sharing that was enough to know that he felt so loved and a part of your family, and it brought him so much happiness. Lauren and Rager, little capuchin. Brandon loved you so very much, and he'll always be with you. Whether it's him checking in on you or his and your friends, which is also an extension of him. Meaning we are also your family too. We are always here for you and little capuchin, and we love you both so very much.
Get it, baby. We're here. We're here, Bonnie.
I'm the oldest of the three brothers, best looking. So this past week, my folks and myself and Chris, we've all been sitting around the house and everybody's been writing their notes on what they're going to say today. And I had mine written too, but I'm just going to say screw it. I'm just going to speak from the heart. People have been sending messages all week, and it's very appreciated. And I keep writing back the same thing. I'm like, he was an amazing kid. I know he was 37. He would have been 38 in 2 days, but to me, he was a kid. I lived with him since he was about 3 months old, and with a couple of guys back there, we fed him, we changed diapers, we did all the stuff you do, and he was a kid to me. He still was until now. And there was a song I've been listening to a lot this past week. It's called "Standing Room Only" by a guy named Tim McGraw. And the only thing I'm gonna read today is, I played for my parents today. And then he says, be somebody that's worth remembering. Live a life so when I die, there's nothing, a standing room only. Shit, look around. I mean, all week long, we keep getting messages from people, hey, I'll be there, I'll be there. There's nothing but standing room only here. And I'm not surprised. Brandon had that kind of impact on people. He was contagious. And you wanted to be around him. It was like, my God. Somebody asked me today, like an hour ago, like, hey, how many people do you know in this room? I knew my brother pretty darn well. I know maybe 25% of the people in this room. And that's him. I mean, Jesus, he was like, the guy you wanted to be around, the guy you wanted to be friends with. Anyway, I don't really want to sit here and tell stories. I will tell one though. Last Friday when Brandon passed, I went to my parents' house and it was shitty. It was me, Sid, and Dad sitting around, and we're all on the phone trying to put this stuff together. And for some reason out of nowhere, I just happened to look up. I turned on Facebook and I see the word Brandon. I'm like, oh shit, somebody's already posted that he passed away. And I look closer, and it wasn't that. Last Friday when Brandon passed, it was National Brandon Day. You can't make this up. I mean, I was like, is somebody messing with me? It was National Brandon Day last Friday, the day he passed. I don't know what that means. Anyway, but instead of telling stories, I just want to say thank you to some people. I want to say thank you to Nancy and Kelly. You guys, you treated him like your own brother, and it was amazing. He loved you too so much. I want to say thank you to the Hermosillo family. You guys have been amazing, and I can't thank you enough for taking my brother in and treating him like one of your own. You're all amazing. I want to say thank you to Lauren. You brought so much joy to my brother's life. You gave him the greatest gift you could ever give. That little girl, I keep hearing screaming over there. I love that little girl. Thank you, Lauren, for doing everything you did. Thank you, my brother. It's been a heck of a week, hasn't it? We're gonna miss our little brother. Thank you, my parents. You guys gave me the greatest gift you could ever give. I love that kid. I'm gonna miss him. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to add?
I want to tell Ron and Cynthia, remember these nice things people have said about you and your son, because you're going to need it coming down the road. The cards you received, the letters, the love, remember it, because it's going to help you.
Thank you. Here we go.
Hi everyone. I was one of the children of the Gap, with many of you here, and the Franks were my second family. So Brandon, my sister, and I, every holiday, were watching inappropriate 80s movies in their downstairs. all the adults were partying up top, and it truly is the best childhood we could have had. It was incredible memories. And I've heard everybody just talk of the love of your family, the love of Brandon. And I know you have a lot to process with this, so I'm asking a favor. I want everybody to stand up if you can. Just take a minute and stand up.
Stand up, please.
We're going to fill this room with love. I don't care if you don't know the person next to you. We're going to give a round of hugs. Big, giant, squeezing hugs. I want everybody to give hugs and fill this up. Fill it with love. For Brandon and for Frank.
I give my kid a hug.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Marielle Macio. I'm Lauren's mom. And I just wanted to share one thing, add to Jeff's speech. When Brandon did get a gift, a pair of pants, he turned around and said, "Oh, Mariella, does my butt look good?" And that's all that mattered, was that his butt looked good. So we got a kick out of that. And,
Did you give him a yeah?
yeah, of course, of course.
He had a good butt.
Yeah.
Over here.
Never noticed that.
So, my name is Amy. I'm here with my parents, George and Andrea Blankenship. For many years, I have fond memories of the Franks and Brandon. I remember bridge night at the Franks' house where Mom and Dad and Ron and Cynthia would play, and we'd be downstairs playing video games. And then I remember as we got a little older, our ski trips. And every ski season, we would make sure we would get the opportunity to go skiing together. It started off as us all in one house together, and then do we buy houses? Well, not me, because I was little, right? But these two having conversations, and both families bought houses 9 houses down from each other. So growing up, we would run back and forth between the houses. And anybody who knows the Franks, like New Year's Eve parties at their house, like that's where you want to be. But whenever I think of Brandon, I think of our times on the ski slopes. And we've heard how Brandon likes to talk, but Brandon loved his dad. Dad, 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 dad. On the ski, okay, we'll take Brandon on the lift with us this time, because when they're on the lift together, dad, dad, dad. From the lift behind us to the lift in front of us, dad, 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 all day, every day. And I think from what we've heard everybody talking about, and when Cynthia messaged me on Friday, I think my first response was, I was driving to pick my son up from soccer. I said, oh my God, I have to pull over, I'm gonna crash my car, right? It sank my stomach so much that we're at this point, but I forever remember, Dad, 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 and these times we had together. So know that you're in our whole family's thoughts and prayers as you go through all of this.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. My name's Ron. I wrote this ad actually on my way up here. We belong to a club that no one wants to belong to, and I'm not talking about Green Hills. We didn't know Brandon, but we know you, and we've been there. And we know how you feel. And when we say we know how you feel, we really know how you feel. It's been said that you don't get over it, but you do get through it. And the one thing I know is that time is your friend. Thank you.
Ron and John worked together at the Gap, and soon after them starting, Ron and Cynthia and myself and John became a family. And so we spent many holidays together, one of which John's an excellent cook, and one Christmas he decided to make crab. And we're sitting in my lovely dining room, and Ron and John had a little much to drink. And before you know it, the crab that was being cracked was then flying through the room, flying on the walls, flying, and the kids thought it was hysterical. Of course I didn't. Had to have the furniture cleaned after Christmas, but that was just a part of some of the things, of the parties and things we did. Brandon was wonderful. Brandon, I think, was fearless his entire life, and that was part of his personality and why he was smiling and laughing and not afraid to talk to anyone and be who he was. Well, that started at a very young age. We had a Doberman named Winston, and Cynthia and Ron were not used to being around Dobes, but they came to visit, and Brandon was about 2 years old, I think, right, Cynthia? Around 2. And the Dobe's walking around, and Brandon comes in, open arms, right
dog around his neck, starts kissing the dog, and I think Cynthia almost hit the ground, passing out. But Ron caught her. We were okay. And we had to say, it's okay, the dog. But Brandon was fearless, had no fear of the dog, no fear of anything, really. He was always like, whatever we would do, he was right there and just loved every minute of his life.
I remember when I was about 8 years old and we visited San Francisco. Me, my mom, and my sister, and we were visiting my aunt, and we were at my mom surprised me, and my uncle just came up behind us, and I was so excited. I hadn't seen him in a while. But like, I adored him, and that day we went to the pier and we were standing there looking at the sea lions, and he said to us, and he asked us if we'd ever had deep fried Oreos. We said no, and he was appalled, and he said we absolutely had to try it. We got this, and there's still powdered sugar in the bottom of my bag from that day.
Oh.
And later we went to the lagoon and we got a little, what's it called? A sea lion stuffed animal. And that's one of my favorite days of my childhood. And I love him a lot. I'm gonna miss him.
Thank you. You have to say something?
I'm one of the other granddaughters. I'm her sister. And on that day, we went to Build-A-Bear, but he surprised me, or he surprised both of us, but he also, he got us Build-A-Bears, and I got this rainbow bear, and I brought it on this trip because it's one of my, almost every single time that I saw him, I would get like a few times that I've seen him, I got a stuffed animal from him. And I brought it on this trip because it's one of the only ones I still have, and he still has never told me the scent. He never told me the scent that he put in that teddy bear, and through this entire time, I've been smelling that bear's paw. And since I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, I've had suspicions of what it might be. I still have no idea. That's just the type of guy he was. He would just make you laugh and make you smile.
Thank you. Well, it's time for the main event. Let's bring the Ron and Cynthia up.
There's a lot of short jokes in this room.
A little lower? Just a teeny bit. This is the most mechanical thing I've done in years. There we go.
That's good, that's good. Yeah, thank you.
How about a round of applause?
For those of you who don't know me or somehow I started that receiving line out there, I'm proud to say I'm Brandon's, well, I'm pretty vain, so I thought I wouldn't cry a lot if I didn't put on mascara that would run. So I thought I was set for today. So wrong. I had a speech, and I'm going to get to it, maybe get through it. But out on that table, there are some things that meant a lot to Brandon. And I had an opportunity to open up a book. Pretty cheesy, huh? This is middle school. Oh, pretty cheesy, middle school. And I just read something that Brandon wrote in middle school. And the interesting thing is, he wrote it then, but it's kind of how Brandon lived his life. How did he know? All I really needed to know, I learned in middle school. All I really needed to know about life and how to live and even what to do, I learned in middle school. Grades were not the main thing. They helped us, but they helped prepare us for life. They taught us stuff that will succeed while we live. The things I learned for life are, my basketball coach taught us, always try your hardest. Starting school taught me things aren't always easy at first, like making friends, but things always turn out good in the end. Ending school taught me things in life aren't always the way we like it, and we will lose things that we want so much, but can't keep. We have to learn to deal with goodbyes. Also, dissecting the pigs and frogs taught me some of the biggest things possible. It taught us that some things may look totally different from us, but still have the same things inside. The reason that's important to me is it's the same with people. Just because their skin color or hair is different, they are the same as you and should be treated the same. This is middle school, guys. The best advice in middle school that I have heard is never give up willingly. My basketball coach told me that, and it's true in every situation. All the things I've listed above has a big impact in everyone's lives. And if you take one and think of a certain time, I can bet one of these has affected you at least once. If we all stick together and none of us give up, we can make the world a better place. He was 12. Okay, I'm gonna try to get through this. If I cry, so give me some grace. I'm sure you will. This morning, our family woke up with a sense of dread. How are we all gonna speak without, well, just falling apart? Well, we already know how that worked out for me. And yet I look around and I see so many people that love Brandon and that he loved as well. There is so much love in this room, and that love is going to help our family get through this. May 4th, 1988. It was an important date for me, and if you're in this room, it was an important date for you as well, but you just didn't know it yet. Brandon Stephen Franks was born 5.5 pounds, 19.5 inches, with a shock of dark black hair and such beautiful olive skin, the nurses were joking he'd been baking in the Mediterranean sun. And in typical Brandon fashion, he arrived 6 weeks early, ready to take on the world, and perhaps then he might have known he had limited time and had to make the most of it. When we first moved to California, we had no family and no friends nearby to help us. And yet our family grew. Maybe not with blood-related members, but friends that became family. People who we actually chose to be in our family. Brandon watched and he learned and he really understood what family meant. And by teens, he could have taught a master class on how to make friends into family. Brandon's friend, Heather, pulled me aside on Tuesday night. I hope you don't mind me sharing, Heather, and told me we raised a fine young man. I've been thinking a lot about that the past several days. Truth be told, we simply gave him a foundation, nothing more. Even when he was a young child, Brandon was always kind, he was loyal, to a fault, easily made friends. And when he became a man, these other qualities showed up. Non-judgmental, personable, good listener, positive attitude, and a huge heart to match that huge smile. His 5th grade teacher once told me Brandon was either going to be a priest or a politician. I thought it was an odd thing to say at the time, but in the end, I think he was a bit of both. And we're so very, very proud of our boy. I wanted to share just a couple of anecdotes about Brandon that really speak to his attitude. At age 4, Brandon and I are driving down Jefferson Avenue and we stop at El Camino. The light there, he's got an upcoming birthday. He rolls down the window and he sees a kid in the corner and yells, "Hey kid, my name is Brandon, having a birthday party on Saturday. You want to come?" That was the beginning of things to come. That was our Brandon, always planning the next adventure and inviting everyone. At age 7, another birthday party. He wants to take 5 of his closest friends. They want to see a movie, and I honestly can't remember what it was, but we piled 5 kids into my car, and we drove down to Redwood City Theater. We were running late because we picked up all the kids, and of course, we spent a lot of time at the concession stand. By the time we made our way into the theater, I inwardly groaned. The only seats available were the front row. And as we got near the seats, Brandon goes, "Oh, Mom, I can't believe the good seats weren't taken." Brandon had a huge heart, determination that served him well. When he was 9 years old, he attended 2 separate week-long Stanford basketball camps. He loved basketball even then. These camps were always well attended, and B was inevitably the smallest kid in his age group every week. Especially these camps, these kids seemed so much taller, but he didn't care. He absolutely loved the game. In each of the 2 weeks, Brandon won Camper of the Day, but most importantly, at the end of each week, he won the Stanford Cardinal Award. This was given to the camper who best embodied the spirit, tenacity, leadership, and team play that Stanford wanted. Brandon also had a gift of talking people into doing things they normally wouldn't do. Lots of times, that was me. He was just practicing for the rest of you. For example, one day he talked me into, and I still can't believe I did this, we dressed up as movie extras, but a lot of you didn't know about that. And we went movie extras for an 80s preppy movie based on the Stanford campus. So we filled out the movie release forms. We were paid $0. We spent the day walking through the campus in these action shots in groups. We kept hoping that we would be in the movie. I think our scenes were cut. Brandon, if you can imagine, had on a pink polo, then a yellow polo, and like a blue polo, and khakis. His hair was slicked back. I remember going out to lunch with him afterwards, and we couldn't stop laughing at ourselves. Can you imagine what we looked like at that time? Just silly. But he was always pushing me to get out of my comfort zone. The last time he asked me to do something crazy, we both signed up for the Tough Mudder in Phoenix. Fortunately for me, I had a conflict, and I couldn't make it. Brandon was short in stature, but I believe all 5 foot, I'm gonna give him 6, he'd like that. All 5'6" of him was filled with heart. He fought his battle with cancer with that same big heart and positive attitude and hustled to the end. Ryder told me,
Tell you, sir.
Thank you. We'll take the show on the road. Ryder told me that Daddy lives in her heart, and in Mommy's heart, and everyone's heart. And you know what? She's right. Love doesn't die. Love lives forever. And I'm forever grateful that we exchanged I love yous on Thursday night before he passed. I am so privileged that he called me Mom. I used to tell B, you don't know. I used to tell B he was the only one who had seen my heart from the inside. Ugh, Mom, I can't believe you said that. I knew him the longest, and yet it wasn't long enough. Monday is May 4th, and it would have been Brandon's 38th birthday. And along with what Nicole had to say, he brought so many people together. So before you leave, get out of your comfort zone. Find somebody you don't know. Introduce yourself. Make a new friend. Open your heart and give him a hug from Brandon. He would have liked that.
Well, we all know by now that Brandon loved to party. And boy, he sure has one here. Thank you all. Thank you all for all the outpouring support, love. I can't believe some of you people are actually here. And I mean that in a nice way, because you've flown in from literally across the world. Grabbed a flight from, who knows, Florida with a flat tire on the airplane. I don't know, I heard that story. You guys are amazing. We love you all so much. This is something that Brandon would have really been ashamed about. You go, what are all these people doing here for me? That's the way he was. If you've been looking at these slides at all during the slide presentation, you know that this is a young man who took in life and just rode it hard, sucked it up. He just had it all in those 38 years. How did it come about? Well, I'm going to tell you. As my other son's grown. See, Cynthia and I were supposed to go to this wedding on the East Coast when we lived back in D.C. And the wedding, we lived in D.C., the wedding was up in Connecticut, and I grabbed a ride with a buddy of mine to go up there, and Cynthia is out on the road working. I'll keep it clean. You're telling the story. Yes, I'm telling this story. And Cynthia's out on the road, and she's traveling around, and as fate would have it, there was this massive snowstorm coming in from the Midwest where she was. And, you know, it was a time when there were no cell phones like Chris was talking about. And she's calling the hotel that I'm at and giving me constant updates about how this flight was canceled, and she's running to this other airport, but she's going to get to the wedding. She's going to get to the wedding. And me and my buddies know that she's trying so hard, and I'm upset that she's having a hard time getting there. So I feel so bad for this woman who's just trying her hardest to get to the wedding that I go down to the florist shop and I get some rose petals and some roses, and I put them up in the hotel room, and I get a bottle of champagne. And she actually missed the wedding, but she was there for the reception.
Our children are here. You're one of your kids or grandchildren.
Oh, my grandchildren are here. I'm sorry. Well, that's the way. You know what? That's the way things happen. And there came Brandon. You know? He was pretty active from the get-go. You know, we had this house in Tahoe and did the skiing thing, and Brandon, he was a pretty good skier. He had one speed, fast. He had one direction, down. Turns were not in his vocabulary. And, you know, we're out there, I specifically remember one time, besides the dad, that he was, we came to this mogul field, and he was like, I want to try, it's this big, I want to try the moguls. Well, you can't just let a 7-year-old go down the moguls by himself, so Cynthia recruited me to do it with him, Pat, on my butt the whole way. He was just having a ball, though, just skiing down there. Then he recruited me to get scuba certified with him so that he could go on a scuba trip while he was in college. It was the middle of December, and it was Monterey Bay. Yes, a little chilly, but he got Dad to do that with him. He's also known to go on rafting trips. He did the Tough Mudder without Cynthia. He's been known to bungee jump off of a bridge in New Zealand just before he hiked up to the top of a volcano with buddies of his. He's jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. I never understood that, but this is the way this kid lived. And the parties, you've heard about that Arizona party. My neighbor across the street had to go take out the trash because the kids had left. He still thinks that Domino's is still out of boxes. And they loved their parties, and you know, and Cynthia and I were a little bit surprised because we've seen parties in our homes that we never knew existed before today. He loved his sports. Kid was a sportsman. Went to a school called Sarah High School here, where guys like Lynn Swan, Barry Bonds, Tom Brady, and Brandon Franks went. Played a little tennis there. First freshman ever to make the varsity team. Senior year, he was the captain and the MVP of the team, and we were pretty darn proud of him for doing that stuff. He also went to St. Mary's College, which is, I think his crowning moment there, you guys will remember the night that St. Mary's with Patty Mills played Davidson with a guy by the name of Steph Curry. And you guys took him down and stormed the court. And he had us there with him. And he was so happy we were there to watch Steph go down. And he's loved his Bay Area sports ever since. He loves the Niners, the Giants, but more than anything else, he loves Steph and the Warriors. And I don't know if you've seen, but on that bucket list that was mentioned, Tom, on that bucket list was, I want to meet Steph Curry. And he had that opportunity. It was him and Lauren had the night of a lifetime meeting Steph. And that's basketball. I mean, this kid, all 5'10", 11, his favorite sport, basketball. And he just played larger than he was. I had the opportunity to coach his middle school team along with Kevin and Brian one year, and we coached him, and we knew whenever the other team had a superstar, we would just sick Brandon on that guy. And he was just such a pest, and he just played bigger than he was. Not only in basketball, but I think he played bigger than he was in life. When we see all this, and we talk about all this, you might not think that he even worked. But he did have a job. Started out with a company by the name of Private Eyes. Thank you very much. Then he went to EverFi. Then he went to a company called Zoom Info. The first two companies were pretty special to him. But I have to say the last one, Zoom Info, throughout this whole cancer thing, they've been exceptional and the kind of company that we'd all be proud to work for. They've been over backwards for him. He was in the IT field, I think. First of all, we've lost our IT guy. When people ask me what does Brandon do for a living, I really can't tell you. I think there's a job description, but every time he told me what it was, it went like this. But you know, he worked remotely from home, and I'd listen to him through the door sometimes talking to customers. His patience, his understanding, the way he dealt with customers. I often felt this is a guy that I would work for. He was that good. He was also a trickster. Yeah, he knew how to play tricks. He loved his costumes. He loved his unicorn, he loved his Mario, but more than anything else, he had this affinity, yes, for T-Rex.
Oh, T-Rex gets the point.
Damn, son. Damn, son. Look at him go. Look at him go.
Yeah! He was good at that. He also, it was not beyond him to play some pranks also. Yeah, Kevin, the saran wrap on the toilet bowl was one of my favorites. Oh, yeah, he fell for that. And for you guys who were going to New Orleans with him for his birthday in a couple weeks, as we were going through some of his emails and stuff, we did find an order for some fake nipple rings.
Torres, make it happen. Come on. It's your job.
This is the parking lot a little while ago. Anybody have the phone number 916-807-0391? Who is it? Anyone? Brandon, I mean, he was so ingenious. He got this idea to put this key on here. It doesn't open anything. But it does have the number of one of his friends. And he managed to scatter these all around the country. Literally all around the country. So that Trent would get phone calls from people going, "Hey, I found your key." Brilliant. Yeah, the kid was something else. Reading all of your best wishes, I keep seeing words like caring, feeling, compassion, understanding, and loving. He could listen without judgment, comfort without needing credit, and make someone feel valued and worthy. He was selfless in his actions, asking nothing in return. He's the definition of human spirit. And then along came cancer. Vile, evil, debasing cancer. It took our son, and it will take someone who was obviously dear to you. It will take almost another 700,000 people in the United States this year. Brandon did whatever he could to fight this incredibly unforgiving disease because he wanted to live and enjoy all of us as long as possible. He shared with me his expectations, and I'll tell you that he was very realistic in his views of life. And in typical Brandon fashion, his biggest concern was that he didn't want to become a burden to any of us. Always his biggest concern was for Lauren and for Ryder. He still wanted to see her graduate. He still wanted to make a life for himself and Lauren. When Brandon left us, it's almost 33 years to the day that Jim Valvano made his famous speech that led to the formation of the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer. For those of you who don't remember 1993, Jimmy V was a basketball coach, Brandon's favorite sport, and at the ESPYs, the first year of the ESPYs that year, gave a speech because he was suffering from cancer. It was pretty inspirational. It was very emotional. He ended it with these words, which embody what Brandon was. Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. Thank you all for coming.
Take one look at you, you're taking me out of the ordinary. I want you laying down to the ordinary. On the edge of your life, staying drunk and alive. The angels up in the clouds, I'm jealous knowing we found something so wild. We'll be ordinary. You got me kissing the ground, you sanctuary. Share me with your time, love me through me.
and Cynthia and the Hermosillos, we really want to thank you for being here. It means a lot that so many people gathered here today to celebrate Brandon in such a meaningful way. Finally, to Brandon, we love you, we miss you, and we'll carry you with us always. Thank you.